Good evening, everyone. It is Halloween, October 31st, 2023, and we've had yet another green session. And today, coming in on very low volume, you can see that on the S&P over here, low volume relative to these cells. Same thing on the Qs, 3 days of descending volumes as we get up here. Dow also putting in not the best volume. I am long here off of that Friday high of the day. Managed to get an entry today, so that is sitting nicely. And the Russell also very weak volumes as it tries to stabilize at the lows here. On the Dow, for this swing trade, I'm going to move my stop loss here to break even. And the entry is pretty decent. It is, I'm just trying to see where it is on the futures. It is at 32,900, pretty much the low of today's session. And the idea being is if we go ahead and take that out, I imagine we'll be moving down to that Monday low of the day. And by that point, if it's FOMC, I don't really have any interest in trying to hold this thing through it. Now, speaking of swing trades, not sure where that just went. There we go. Speaking of swing trades, the SPY. We were seeing that this thing looks like a short based on the COT report. And we've had 2 days in a row of green days with a high close on the second day today and on shitty volume. So not only is the COT telling me to position short on this thing, we're also seeing a weak short cover rally with a high close. So if tomorrow takes out this low of the day from Tuesday, today's RTH session, whatever that is on the ES, about 4170-ish, somewhere around there. If we break that, I will be short against this Tuesday high of the day, and I'll be looking for further selling, perhaps into this kind of 404-ish area. So that's how I'm looking at this stuff. The COT was showing the Dow extremely short, so when it lined up with that David Paul's surprise attack trade of 2 days in a row in the same direction with a low close if you're looking for a long trade or a high close if you're looking for a short trade, that's essentially what we're getting. And actually, that would make sense to have the stop at break even because this is 2 green days with a high close. If we break this low, that would be, if we were trading per David Paul's method, that would be a short setup. The second day having the high close above 80% of the day's range, and then taking out that low of the day the next day. So stop is at break even. We'll see what we can get on it. Looking to swing the S&P short. Russell just sitting like a bag of crap. And the NASDAQ managing to get a bit of lift, but again, on very poor volumes. Let's get into this a little bit. Let's go to the RTH. Let's go and turn off some of these indicators and stuff. Here's the NASDAQ. If you want to turn off everything. This is Monday. Here's Tuesday. Pretty much the entire day was spent trading within this 30-minute opening ranges high. We eventually broke out of it, and we did get a nice high close. I think we technically closed outside of value area high. Same thing on the S&P. I believe this was a close as well outside of value area high. We got this nice ramp into the close after some significant churn for a few hours there. Dow was the same thing. There we go. Got some bids around during the IB that ended up being our low of the day. Then significant churn until a breakout and high close. So all three tickers of interest giving us high closes. The Dow, most importantly, holding settlement, what was settlement highs and what was the key breakout area there around 328-ish. The S&P getting to my main resistance zone of interest. I was saying somewhere around 418 to 420 kind of seemed like the sell area in general. So we've reached these areas. So going into tomorrow, what am I thinking? Well, we've got this. What is that? I think that's supposed to say ADP NFEC. non-farm employment change. I think that's what that is. Followed by the ISM PMI and JOLTS at 10 a.m. and then of course the main event 2 p.m. FOMC. So what I'll be doing is waiting for 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. to show up, let the JOLTS number release, the ISM PMI stuff, and so typically after before leading into an FOMC event, we get some really mean reverty kind of trade. So accordingly, here's how I want to trade this thing. Tomorrow we are likely opening above all this structure. You know, these highs, opens, closes, settlement highs, all this sort of crap. We're likely to open above it. So I'm going to mostly be looking for longs, I think, and that'll be even more so the case if we break the overnight high. Similarly, on the Dow, on the Nasdaq, even the Nasdaq has managed to break some sort of structure. I imagine it will remain the laggard out of the three. The Dow leading, the ES second, and then the Nasdaq lagging to the upside. I imagine it'll be my short side vehicle, but to me, this is kind of the critical area to hold. Kind of the IB high to the IB high, this sort of level area. Monday's high, Tuesday's kind of breakout area. That's going to be the key pivot area for me to see hold. On the Dow, I think we end up getting into sort of last week's highs, the highs of this kind of balance. The balance I'm referring to being something like this. There you go. That looks about right. Looks like we're holding inside that balance now, and we should be able to make it to, let's call it halfway, 331-ish. But really, I think we'll get up to about 332 or so. So that's how I'm looking at this thing. I'm bullish the Dow. I am expecting the Nasdaq to kind of drift up a bit. I think the S&P is able to get up to somewhere around here. It's kind of 419 to 421 area, and I think it's a fade there. So that's how I'm looking at this thing. Swing long, the Dow, looking for a swing short on the S&P. My stop is break even on the Dow at 32,900. We're currently trading at 33,060. And looking for some pretty mean reversion trade ahead of the event. Hope that makes sense. Hope it helps. Have a great night. Trade safe.